Hi, everybody. Today we're going to talk about how Coach Mike and myself, we both retired in our 30s. How did we do it? All right, Mike, we talk constantly about early retirement or how do you retire and stop working, right? Everybody wants to stop working and retire and live it up. But most people can't do that until they're in later in life, 50s, 60s, 70s. How did we retire in our 30s? Let's dig into some options of how could somebody watching retire early and live their ideal life.
The number one thing that I believe is keeping expenses low. And the way that I did it was I became debt free. I no longer had those monthly payments that I had to worry about. Everything was paid for in cash. I've been debt free for over 10 years, nearly 15 years, and there's nothing better. And I get to live the life that I want to live now. So it really set me up to, once I became debt free, then continuing to save, both in an emergency fund, in an anticipation fund, and for future retirement that we have talked about in the past, both in retirement and outside of retirement. That way we have access, my wife and I have access to it before we're in our 60s.
Yeah, and we have another video on a bridge account. You can go look that one up, and we talk about what the bridge account actually is and how it works. I think it's important to note that so many people think I have to have some kind of inheritance from my family in order to retire, or I need to win the lottery, or like some big, huge, magical thing, like maybe you double or triple your income. That's not the only way. Now, obviously, Mike said if you have extremely low expenses, you can retire. But what about if you save? Well, Mike, you've done a great job of this, saving early on. Like as soon as you get your career job, put a bunch of money into your retirement. Then you can, after 20 years, maybe let's say you start work at 20 and you're 40 years old, you could have a significant amount of money in your 401k and your IRA. But this is where the bridge account comes in. You can't touch that without penalty until you're 59 and a half. So if you want to retire before that, the bridge account, but you can do that. And then I think the third thing is got to think creatively, right? Think of ways that you can reduce some expenses. Think of ways that you can make more income so that you can balance that out and say, wow, I do have enough. I could retire or semi-retire earlier than the typical age would be. That's something that both you and I have done. So let's go in a little bit about our stories. How did you decide I'm able to semi-retire at the ripe age of what age were you? 30 what?
30.
Oh,
Yep.
wow.
Yep. 30. So again, it was about being debt free, setting up savings. And then honestly, it was my wife. It was her idea to quit our jobs and start traveling. And I'm glad you said it was semi-retired. We knew we were going to have to work again. We didn't know when or where or how or what we were going to do. But once we got out, for us, out on the road, it was that first year was in a four-wheel drive and a rooftop tent. We had a lot of fun going around Australia. But again, we knew we were going to have to work, and we ended up picking up work that year. We worked 7 weeks that year.
Mm,
And that income for both of us funded our life for that 12 months.
mm.
Just those 7 weeks of work were able to pay for 12 months of the lifestyle that we had chosen. Again, we had no debt and our expenses were very low. We would have spent roughly or less than $20,000 for the year.
Mm. Okay. So that goes back to knowing what your ideal life looks like, or
Mhm.
in your case, this semi-retired life. If you know that you can live your ideal life on 20 grand, then all you have to do is make 20 grand that year and you're good. That's what you're saying, right?
That's right. If you can live that with that amount of money, then yeah, you're good. And if you have enough investments to pay you that, it could be a rental property, it could be mutual funds, it could be whatever pays you an income to live the life that you want to live. But I think you hit on something that was very important there is being clear on what it is that you want to do, right? Because my ideal life, the way that Ella and I travel, is very different from you, Jason. Tell us about when you first kind of went into semi-retirement. What does that look like?
Yeah, my lifestyle is probably not a $20,000 lifestyle.
Mhm.
I don't know if I could do it. I mean, I could probably do it for a little while, but I don't know if I could live in a RV and travel all the time. But anyway, I was 38 years old. I had my finance job. I did all the things that everybody else, did with working the 60-hour weeks and making a good salary. But I was 38 years old. That's when I started my coaching business. And I realized I was so good at budgeting, and we did the same thing that you did, got out of debt. So we had as low expenses as we could as far as the commitments that we had. We had really low rent. We ended up renting a barn. And this is after I lost the house. I rented a barn. It was converted into an apartment, so it was, pretty clean and good, but it was quirky, right? The lines were all off, and it was a barn that was converted into a condo. So that really wasn't a great spot. So the rent was really low. It was a lady in our church. We got it. And so I was paying probably $1,000 less than like market value for a 2.5 bedroom apartment. And so our rent was like 1,400 bucks. And anywhere else in town, you couldn't find anything less than 2,800, 3,000. So we had did a combo. So expenses were really low. We had no debt after we got out of debt. And then we started saving a bit of money. And I'm so good with budgeting and thinking creatively that I was like, wait a second, if I have some kind of side hustle, like my coaching business, for example, if I made X amount of dollars plus our all of the other little things plus my wife's job that she had a pretty good paying job, we could actually make it pretty easily on those incomes. And then we also had a little bit of 401k money, so we knew our future was rolling. So it was like, gosh, I don't have to get a second job. I don't have to get that career job. And so I'm like, gosh, I can do that. And so at 38 years old, I started my coaching business. So I went from a full salary to zero, started my business, and what I made in the business and what my wife made was enough to cover pretty much everything that we needed to do, and we could do fun things as well. So that's when I knew, oh, I can semi-retire. So I worked 10, 15 hours a week, and I've been doing that for 8, 9 years now. And so I'm semi-retired as well. And I think that's really, really important for people viewing to know, like what you and I are talking about, Mike, is you have to know what your life looks like, know what that costs, and then something that's big for you is trying it out. So speak a little bit about that idea when you were telling me earlier, trying it out. What does that mean to you?
Sure. Well, you may think, oh my gosh, just like Jason, you couldn't live on $20,000 a year. Totally fine. Is it 40? Well, it's probably not 400. So where's that number, right? Be clear on that. And what I mean by trying it out is we're in our RV right now. We're on the road. We're traveling. We have a beautiful camp spot right here, and we're recording this video. Try that out. You may not want to live with the dirt and the spiky things out here and the loud people coming in at nighttime waking you up, or the generator running from your neighbor, or not having water, not having the sunshine for your solar panels. There's a lot of things that go into it. And when I mean try it out, go rent it, right? Go rent a van, go rent an RV, or borrow someone's, right? Borrow a friend's, or go with a group of people. Try that out. Because if you think, oh, I'm gonna save up until I have $1 million, then I'm gonna go and buy $100,000 RV, and then you're gonna hit the road and you realize it's not fun, right? I think Jason, you've shared your parents did exactly that.
Yeah. Yeah. They wanted to go on a cross country trip in an RV. They thought that we've always wanted to see the entire country. We're going to do this on the cheap because you can rent an RV or you can buy an RV or whatever and not do the hotels and all that stuff. And they ended up riding in like a 2 day or a 3 day road trip with some of their friends in an RV. And they came back and they said, yeah, that's not for us. That was fine to do it for 2 days, like a vacation. But to think about doing that for a 3 month summer period, they're like, yeah, that's not us. So I'm so glad that they didn't, because if they dropped 100 grand on an RV, they would have regretted it.
Correct. I've heard too many stories. And not only in this example, if you think you want to live in another country,
Yeah.
right? Costa Rica, Vietnam, Europe, anywhere, go visit that place.
Yeah.
Go take a long sabbatical, try it out, stay there for 2, 3 months. Maybe if you can do 6 or 12 months, try it out. Instead of selling everything of your home base and everything that gives you certainty, right? Comfort. Think of those things because when you go to another country, Everything's different. You
Yeah.
won't see your friends, you won't see your family. The food's going to be different, the culture's going to be different. And I love that. I think they're all for benefit, but maybe that's not your personality. That's why I mean, try it out.
Yeah. Plus, you don't really know. I mean, you can look up how much it costs to live in Panama. I've got a friend who moved to Panama. You can look that up, but you don't really know what your lifestyle is in that particular country until you go there for a little while and figure that out. So just make sure when you do that and try it out, you figure out how much it costs and then book in or budget in what it costs to travel back and forth. So for example, in this case, my friend moved to Panama. She wanted to make sure that she could come back to America to visit her family and friends and stuff, maybe once, twice, 3 times a year. So that's part of the budget as well of how much it costs to live that ideal life. So yeah,
Correct.
Mike, you're totally right with trying it out, seeing what works. Try multiple things as well. Don't just try that one thing that you have in your head because you don't even know what else is out there until you get
Yes.
out there in the world. Right, that's part of it. You figure out, oh, I don't want to do this, but you know what? Something else is similar. I could probably try that. So try that. Try
Mhm.
just like how we budget. We talked about that in nausea. Try it out until something works, and you're like, okay, that's part of my ideal life, and it will change, and that's okay. I think one more thing, Mike, I'd like you to touch on is when you talk a lot about the whole retirement life and most people they want to just retire and then they end up like doing something or we have to do something like talk a little bit about that like as far as retirement goes.
Yeah, if you're still sticking with us in this video, congratulations. I think this is a really great bonus, what Jason's asking. And what I'm going to mention is there's only so many beaches you can lay on, and there's only so many mountains you can hike, right? If you eat enough lobster, eventually it'll taste like soap. What do I mean? You've got to do something. You've got to grow and you've got to contribute. You can't live in an RV and travel around indefinitely. 12 months, great. Maybe you're even rare and you can do 12 years, great. But at some point, you're going to want to do something, right? You're going to want to be in a community and serve and give back. Or like Jason and I, we are contributing and giving our time and knowledge to you in the form of videos and education. Right? We've got to do things. And that typically comes with an exchange. Now, it could be an exchange of food, accommodation, and in our case, money, monetized. Right? There's all these different opportunities. And if you don't care about the money or you have enough money to do the life that you want to live, go volunteer somewhere. Even if it's not your community, a community, you've got to do something. And one of the things that I got to learn and really got involved in since kind of traveling since, wow, over 7 years, we I'm big fans of Ellen and I are big fans of Tony Robbins and Jason. That's how we connected as well. And giving our time and efforts back to that. Like we volunteer and we do that. Volunteered for years. And just this year, we actually got the opportunity to be paid. We didn't expect it. We just got asked and we like said yes. So exactly what Jason is saying is we don't know what's next, right? Just being open to possibilities, being open to change, being open to try something. And that all started because I went to one event. I watched one YouTube video. I said yes. And then it just continued to snowball from there. And life is great. Right? I couldn't even have written down this is my ideal life 8 years ago. I tried, like I had visions. I'm still living some parts of that, but Jason touched on as well. Things are going to change. You're going to change. Family's going to change. Your community is going to change. Everything is going to change, and I believe for the better.
Fantastic. Oh, such a great conversation. Thank you. Make sure you like, subscribe, do what you need to do so that you can get all of our other videos and we'll see you on the next one.